Hi Leslie, welcome to the Fairly Current Show.
Thank you.
We want to talk about the upcoming Pakatan Rakyat convention. Yeah, and at this convention, I think some interesting things may or may not happen. Now, from where you stand and what you know, what do you think will be happening at this PR convention?
Well, I understand they're presenting their common platform, okay, to sort of bring forward a set of proposals, okay, to show the voting public what they have to offer. Okay, that is quite a milestone for them. Unfortunately, they have, from what we've been hearing, it's quite a watered down platform.
Why do you think this has been happening?
Sorry?
Why do you think this is happening?
The fact that it's watered down, I think one of the issues is that some people have a lot of hopes for Pakatan Rakyat, but unfortunately, they're still quite how would you say, disparate and very different in their ideologies. Okay, despite what they say, you have obviously a very PAS on one side, DAP on the other, and not many people actually know what PKR stands for, right, except for maybe Anwar Ibrahim. You know, I think one of the failings, if you like, or there's been disappointment, of Pakatan Rakyat is that it's not been able to tell the voting public what kind of government it would be able to present or be if they were to take power. Right now, it's still predominantly seen as an opposition party, and it's not helped by the fact that many of their states, which they rule, in many of the states which they rule, they have not shown that many initiatives.
Yeah. So you think even for a state like Selangor, you think that is the case?
Yeah, it's pretty much the case. I mean, they can go around. I mean, there's no doubt that the Barisan Nasional has been going at them, okay, and using whatever advantages it has, considering that the Barisan Nasional controls the federal government. But ultimately, they have to deal with it. They have to deal with it and carry on. I don't think the public eventually cares that much about whether they are being victimized. What the public wants is to know what can you give me?
Right. And seeing as it has been, it's going to be about a year and 9 months, since the last general elections. And do you think that given this time span, it's almost nearly 2 years, the inability to articulate this common platform, or even just like you say for PKR, not being able to articulate its fundamental, what does it stand for really? How do you think this will bode for the next second half of, I mean, assuming that we only go to the polls back in 2012, yeah? What do you think this means for not just the individual parties, but also just Pakatan Rakyat, and how people will look at Pakatan?
It's interesting that you mentioned 2012, because I believe that the Barisan Nasional is probably looking at elections earlier.
So before all the disasters happen.
yeah, and before, I mean, they're looking at the economy as the real platform. Barisan Nasional. I think the Prime Minister Dato Sri Najib is looking at having a great economic boost next year. Okay,
even with the Petronas problems. I mean, not really problems, but
I think that's why they've been pushing for a lot of foreign investments, and looking at Pakatan Rakyat and knowing that there are still problems within Pakatan Rakyat, and as you said, they can't articulate their own common platform very well. It is a golden opportunity for Barisan Nasional to have elections as soon as it can. Okay, having said that, it's difficult to predict what will happen next year.
Of course,
obviously, whether it's on the economic front or anything. Let's not forget that Anwar is facing a sodomy trial
in January.
And things like that.
So, what do you think are going to be, I don't know, game-changing events that you can foresee at least in the next quarter?
I don't think there's any game-changing event now, because frankly, if you ask me, my personal opinion is that there are no political leaders in Malaysia right now, whether on Barisan or Pakatan, because leaders lead.
Right.
Yeah, we don't see any leadership. Leaders tell us where we're going to
With a vision.
with some kind of vision. Yeah, Najib is as close as we can get. I'm not a supporter of him, but he's as close as he can get because at least he's focused on trying to revive the economy. Anwar, we're not quite sure where he stands sometimes.
Right.
Okay, and if he's aside his great speech was that he. After March 2008 elections was to say there's no such thing as Ketuanan Melayu, it's Ketuanan Rakyat, and then he left it at that. He's got a track record of being completely vague, not being able to commit.
Right.
Okay, leaders commit and say this is it, this is where I stand, and I hope you accept me, and this is where I'm taking you.
What about the next layer of next generation of young politicians who've only now joined into the jumped into the fray? What do you think? Could you fathom any kind of potential leaders there?
I think we have a great problem in this country on both sides of the political divide in coming up with the next generation of leaders.
What do you think that is? Was it because of the strong iron-fisted manner?
Yeah, there's no doubt that Dr. Mahathir had killed off a lot of leaders, and also that he created a condition that made it unpalatable for anybody who wants to join politics. You look at the politicians around, and people may not know this, that in Parliament, on UMNO's side, there's only one accountant in the entire UMNO fold in Parliament. Quite a few doctors and lawyers, but you don't see this great push from younger people, professionals to join to be leaders. So we've only got ourselves to blame.
Yeah.
We may be a country of you can be an engineer and doctor and you bitch and moan about a lot of things, and yet your leader is probably some fairly unexposed and uneducated person on both sides of the political divide. So who's to blame for that?
I see.
Okay.
Now we started off with talking about the Pakatan Rakyat convention and it being kind of like a milestone. In the last decade, because we're ending the noughties, the 2000 to 2009, we're ending this first decade. What do you think have been some really important key turning points in Malaysian politics and in Malaysia, in your perspective?
Obviously, the first thing that comes to my mind would be Dr. Mahathir deciding to leave the scene.
The first time or this?
Finally, when he finally decided to leave the scene, and the other key turning point would be that going back there, I believe that Dr. Mahathir would have lost the elections if he did not leave the scene when he did. And going back there, the biggest disappointment of the decade would be Tun Abdullah Badawi. Okay, following that. Okay, and finally the results of elections 2008. Which was totally unexpected, especially by the opposition. I don't think anyone in the opposition expected. I mean, they talk as if it was some great strategy that brought them there, that brought them to where they are today.
No one has any idea how it happened.
Yeah, none of them do. They're as if you ask them very honestly, privately, they'll say they didn't expect. People forget that it wasn't Pakatan Rakyat that got the 5 states.
Yeah.
They didn't have a Pakatan Rakyat in March 2008. It was found only after that. It was a loose electoral cooperation kind of thing.
Yes.
But of course, they hyped it and say that it is, wow, we have this Pakatan Rakyat.
Do you think they could repeat this success?
I think it will be very difficult if you're pushing me to make a prediction for the next elections. I think Barisan Nasional will win back the 2/3 majority. Based on today, if elections were to be held today. But I think Pakatan Rakyat will still win back a few states.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Leslie, for sharing with us.
Cheers.
And here's to 2010.